Today we're at Sistah Space, an organization that supports women and survivors of domestic abuse. Christmas is usually one of their most tough periods, so we've come behind the scenes to see what goes on during this time.
Sistah Space are a domestic abuse charity that specialises in supporting Black women or African and Caribbean heritage women affected by abuse. This is UK-wide. We support all over the UK, but we're based in London. It's members of the community that have come together, seen an issue, trained up, and essentially dedicated themselves to fixing these issues, or at least contributing to the ending of these issues. We work across 3 to 4 main pillars. The first is obviously the service that we run. We support service users by helping them in terms of advocacy, something called a Mackenzie Friend, which is being able to show up as a professional support in places like court. Sistah Space focus on the intersectionality of domestic abuse and racism. Oftentimes people focus on racism, they focus on domestic abuse, but never really together. And what we have found is that Black women going through domestic abuse are further perpetrated by the system, by a very racist system. And so the narrative of the strong Black woman gets thrown around a lot. And so we found that essentially Black women aren't getting the support that they're entitled to. So Sistah Space's whole ethos is essentially about making sure that the Black woman that's affected by domestic abuse can access equal support to her other counterparts.
What are 3 words you would use to describe Sistah Space?
Love, commitment, change.
3 words to describe Sistah Space: definitely unique, authentic, just beautiful.
Why did Sistah Space start? For me, it was the murder of Valerie Forde and her year-old daughter. It was the final straw for me because Valerie had gone to the police and reported a threat by the ex-partner to burn down her house with her and the children in it. And the police put it down as a threat to property. And very shortly afterwards, she and her daughter were murdered in the most, not that there's a good way to murder somebody, but they really suffered. It was horrific. The more I researched, the more I found that there is so much more to do than I could even imagine. And when Valerie's case came to court, it was very apparent that the system isn't equipped to support Black women. And so that, I think, was the catalyst for Sistah Space.
There are so many nuances and issues within this space that people aren't aware of. Black women are going through domestic abuse, and when it comes to getting help, they're facing further abuse. They're facing racism within domestic abuse shelters. They're receiving essential goodie bags that don't cater to their culture and are somewhat useless. Oftentimes, these are the driving factors that drive people back into the danger, because they're looking for their familiarity, they're looking for the safety, and they're looking for their essential items. No matter whether they're a domestic abuse survivor or somebody who's fortunate enough to not be going through this, everybody deserves to feel comfortable and have their essential item.
What is Sistah Space's biggest need right now?
I think the biggest need, depending on who we're thinking about, the biggest need for us is for the community to understand what domestic abuse is. Many women especially actually believe that domestic abuse is physical. So if you're not getting beaten or anything like that, then it doesn't constitute domestic abuse. But under UK law, domestic abuse involves coercion and control, financial abuse, and other. The biggest need is for the community to realise what it is, what happens when you report it, if you report it, versus what's supposed to happen.
On the topic of donations, what would an extra £1,000 of donations look like for Sistah Space?
Well, £1,000 could probably support a mother and 3 children in a refuge for a week. But we're looking at to raise at least £30,000 because we need to put an independent domestic violence advisor in post.
What is the hardest part of this work during Christmas season?
It's always hard. Christmas doesn't make it easier. You just never know. The type of abuses that happens doesn't change because it's Christmas.
Okay. And what is one thing you wished every woman knew, or every Black woman knew, to kind of empower them?
A lot of them are going through domestic abuse. There's a lot of them may not necessarily know that's what they're going through because that's how it's always been.
And what keeps you doing this work every year or every day? What makes you get up every morning and come here and give back to the woman?
African heritage women have, for them to know that there is support, for them to know there are people who care about them, for them to know that there are services that are available, for them to know that they are just the most beautiful people who are under particular circumstances. for them to know that their things can change and things will change, and for them to know that they are loved.
That although Sistah Space support Black, African and Caribbean heritage women affected by domestic and sexual abuse and rape, because sexual abuse and rape are not always the same thing, and that's another thing that needs to be spoken about. It isn't just a Black problem. No. Everybody, like I said, we're all our sister's keeper. If someone over there is affected by domestic abuse, I don't take out a colour chart and say, wrong shade, not going to help. That's not what we do. But why Sistah Space is needed and why we're unique is because we fill the gap that is missing when it comes to Black women and children affected by domestic abuse. We are launching our new look shop. So we've had the shop for a while, but thanks to our ambassador, FKA Twigs, we're able to relaunch, just bring a new perspective. Christmas is a time when we usually find that there's an increase in domestic abuse. We have to put in place things to make sure that people have food and have heating, and for that we rely heavily on the community. And we've been fortunate in that we've had a lot of support from the community and from organisations and from celebrities and from everybody.
These are the people who show up. This is the Shade Bar Hidden Heroes.